The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched so far that its ceiling disappeared into artificial clouds. Taemin stood at the center platform, his simple gray suit looking plain next to the colorful forms of hundreds of alien species around him. This was his first time here. Earth had finally been invited to join the Council after 50 years of waiting. He felt small. Every species here had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Humans had barely left their own solar system 200 years ago. The other ambassadors looked at him with what he could only describe as amusement. To them, humanity was like a child joining a table of adults. The session had been going for 3 hours. Taemin had said nothing, just listening and learning. That changed when the Vortak delegation stood up. The Vortak looked like massive bears crossed with insects. They stood 8 feet tall, covered in thick, armor-like skin. Their empire controlled 40 star systems. Their warlord, Krelvar, walked to the speaking platform with heavy steps that echoed through the chamber. "We claim salvage rights to human colony ship Dandelion," Krelvar announced. His voice was deep and harsh. "It passes through our territory in 3 weeks. We will take its resources." Taemin felt his heart speed up. The Dandelion carried 3,000 colonists. Families. Children. They were heading to a new world called New Sol. A journey that would take them 2 more years. He pressed his speaking button. "That ship carries living people. They are not resources." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not cruel laughter, but the kind adults make when a child says something innocent and foolish. Krelvar turned to face him. "Your species is new here, human. You do not understand how things work. The strong take from the weak. This is the way of the galaxy. Your colony ship is slow and undefended. It is prey." More laughter. Taemin looked around the chamber. Most species were not laughing, but none were speaking up either. They simply watched with interest. Like this was entertainment. Standing behind Taemin was Captain Hyunwoo, his military advisor. Hyunwoo was young for a captain, only 35, but his eyes were hard. He leaned forward and whispered, "Let me speak to them." Taemin shook his head slightly. He took a breath and spoke clearly into the chamber. "Warlord Krelvar, I ask you not to do this. Those people are innocent. They have done nothing to your empire." "Exactly," Krelvar said. "They are weak. Weakness invites predation. This is nature." "Then let me give you a warning," Taemin said. His voice was calm, but something in it made the laughter stop. "If you harm those people, we will come for you. You will attack us?" Krelvar laughed. "You have 12 military ships. We have thousands." "No," Taemin said. "I did not say we would attack you. I said we will come for you." He paused. "You may defeat us in battle. You may destroy our ships. You may kill our soldiers, but understand this clearly. Humans do not forget. Humans do not stop. If you harm those colonists, we will chase you. We will follow you wherever you go. Not for a year. Not for 10 years. Forever." The chamber went quiet. An old counselor named the Raxi, who looked like a floating collection of crystals, spoke up. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Ambassador Taemin, surely you speak in metaphor. No species pursues conflict without end." "I do not speak in metaphor," Taemin said. "I speak simple truth. We will chase you until you surrender to justice, or until every last one of you is gone. There will be no negotiation, no peace treaty, no forgetting. You will spend the rest of your existence running from us." Krelvar stared at him for a long moment, then burst into loud laughter. "The human threatens us. This tiny species that just learned to cross stars threatens the Vortak Empire." He turned to the council. "See how desperate they are? They have nothing but words." Many in the chamber joined his laughter. But Taemin noticed that some of the older species, the ones who had survived for millions of years, were not laughing. They were watching him carefully. Counselor Thraxi spoke again. Warlord Krelvar. Perhaps it would be wise to avoid this conflict. The humans are new to the Council. To attack them now would create poor relations. I care nothing for relations with prey animals, Krelvar said. He looked directly at Taemin. Your warning is noted and dismissed. In 3 weeks, we will take your colony ship. Do your worst. Human. The Vortak delegation left the chamber. The session ended shortly after. As the various species filed out, many gave Taemin sympathetic looks. A few even approached to offer condolences, as if the 3,000 colonists were already dead. Captain Hyun-woo waited until they were alone in their transport ship before speaking. Sir, we need to evacuate the Dandelion. We can send fast ships to intercept it. Transfer the colonists. We cannot. Taemin said quietly. The Dandelion is too far. Our fastest ships could not reach it in time. He sat down heavily. Those people are going to die because I could not convince a bully to show mercy. This is not your fault, Hyun-woo said. I know, Taemin said. But that does not help them. 3 weeks later, the news reached Earth. The Vortak had attacked the Dandelion as promised. They did not simply take resources. They killed everyone aboard. 3,000 people. They broadcast the massacre across the galaxy as a warning to other weak species. They showed the bodies floating in space. They showed the destroyed ship. They made sure everyone knew what happened when you were weak in their territory. Taemin watched the broadcast in his office on Earth. His hands shook, not from fear, from rage. Beside him, Hyun-woo stood perfectly still, his face like stone. They killed children, Hyun-woo said softly. Families. People who just wanted to start a new life. Taemin stood and walked to his window. He could see the military headquarters in the distance. Captain, I need you to do something for me. Quote, anything, sir. I made a promise to Krelvar, Taemin said. I told him we would chase them forever. I need you to make sure humanity keeps that promise. Hyun-woo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, it will take resources. Ships. Trained crews. We will have to build things that have never existed before. I know. It could take years. Decades. We might not even live to see the end of it. Well, I know that too. And you still want this? Taemin turned to face him. His eyes were hard. Those 3,000 people were under our protection. We failed them. We cannot bring them back. But we can make sure that everyone in the galaxy knows that harming humans comes with a price that never stops being paid. Hyun-woo nodded slowly. Then I will build you a fleet. Not for conquest. Not for territory. A fleet designed for one single purpose. What purpose? Hunting, Hyun-woo said. We will chase them until they wish they had never heard of humanity. Across the galaxy, the Vortak celebrated their successful raid. They had gained valuable resources and proven their strength. Krelvar laughed about the human ambassador's warning. Empty words from a weak species. But on Earth, humanity was not mourning. They were building. And they would not stop building until their promise was kept. Forever was a long time. The Vortak were about to learn just how long. 6 months had passed since the Dandelion massacre. The Galactic Council had held a memorial session, offered their sympathies, and moved on to other matters. This was how things worked in the galaxy. The strong survived. The weak were forgotten, but Earth had not moved on. Admiral Hyun-woo stood in the orbital shipyard above Earth, watching the final construction on the fleet. He had been promoted from captain to admiral for one specific purpose. He was now commander of something the galaxy had never seen before. The Persistence Fleet. Show me the numbers again, he said to Engineer G1, a small woman with tired eyes who had not slept properly in months. G1 pulled up the holographic display. We have 40 ships ready. Not warships in the traditional sense. Each one is designed to operate for years, without returning to port. They can manufacture their own fuel from hydrogen collected in space. They can repair themselves using automated systems. Their crews rotate in shifts so someone is always awake, always watching sensors. What about tracking? Hyun-woo asked. That is where it gets interesting, Ji-won said with a small smile. She expanded the display to show the entire galaxy. Thousands of small dots appeared. These are relay stations. We have spent 6 months placing them in every major travel route. Each one is small, hard to detect, and talks to all the others. When a Vortax ship passes by, the relay notices and tells all the others. So, we can track them anywhere? Not anywhere. Not yet. But in most of the traveled galaxy, yes. And we are adding more relays every day. In a year, we will have complete coverage. Hyun-woo nodded. And the generation ships? A new voice spoke. Scientist Dong-hyun walked up to them, holding a data pad. He was older, maybe 60, with gray hair. We based them on old colony ship designs, but improved. These ships can operate for 100 years if needed. The crews will have families aboard. Children will be born on these ships. Entire generations can live and die while the mission continues. You are talking about asking people to give up their entire lives, Hyun-woo said. I am talking about volunteers who understand what we are doing, Dong-hyun replied. We have 10,000 applications for 500 crew positions. People want this, Admiral. They want justice for the Dandelion. Hyun-woo looked out at the ships. They were not beautiful. They were functional, ugly, built for endurance rather than speed. But they represented something important. A promise kept. When do we launch? He asked. The Vortac fleet is currently raiding a mining colony in the Theta sector, Ji-won said. They will be there for another week. We can reach them in 5 days if we leave now. Then we leave now, Hyun-woo said. The Persistence fleet launched with no ceremony. Earth's government had debated making it a public event, but Hyun-woo had refused. This was not about glory. This was about a job that needed doing. The 40 ships jumped to hyperspace, heading toward the Theta sector. Krelvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his soldiers load stolen equipment from the mining colony below. This was their 3rd raid this month. Business was good. His sensor officer made a strange noise. Warlord, we have contacts. 40 ships just entered the system. What species? Krelvar asked, not particularly concerned. Human, sir. That got Krelvar's attention. He walked to the sensor display. Sure enough, 40 human ships were approaching. Slowly. They were not attacking, just moving closer. What do they want? He muttered. His communication officer spoke up. Sir, we are receiving a message. Audio only. Play it. Admiral Hyun-woo's voice filled the bridge. Calm. Professional. Warlord Krelvar, you are responsible for the deaths of 3,000 human colonists. We are here to bring you to justice. Surrender now, and you will receive a fair trial. Krelvar laughed. His officers joined in. Human Admiral, you have 40 ships. I have 300. Go home before I add your ships to my collection. We will not go home, Hyun-woo said. We will stay here until you surrender. Then you will die here. The communication ended. Krelvar ordered 20 of his ships to attack the humans. It should be an easy fight. It was not. The human ships did not try to win. They did not stand and fight. Instead, they scattered, fired at extreme range, and retreated. Krelvar's ships chased them. But the humans were faster in short bursts. They would fire, damage a Vortac ship, then run before reinforcements arrived. After 6 hours, Krelvar recalled his ships. He had lost 2 vessels and damaged 4 more. The humans had lost none. Why do they fight like cowards? His tactical officer asked. Because they are not trying to defeat us, Krelvar said slowly, understanding dawning on him. They are trying to slow us down. He was right. For the next 3 days, every time the Vortac tried to finish loading their stolen goods, Human ships would appear and attack. Not major attacks. Just enough to force the Vortak to respond, to delay their work. Finally, Krelvar gave the order to abandon the raid and jump to the next system. They would return later, when the humans gave up and went home. But the humans followed. Over the next months, a pattern emerged. Wherever the Vortak went, human ships appeared 3 days later. Always 3 days. Like clockwork. The Vortak would try to establish a base, and humans would blockade it. They would try to raid a colony, and humans would warn the colony in advance. They would try to negotiate trade deals, and humans would show up with evidence of Vortak war crimes. Lieutenant Bo-Ra became famous during this time. She was only 23 years old, the youngest officer in the Persistence fleet. Her specialty was tracking. She personally followed a Vortak scout ship through a nebula field for 18 months without losing it once. When asked how she did it, she said simply, "I never looked away. Not once. We had 3 sensor operators working in shifts, but I was always there, always watching. When you care enough, you find a way." The Vortak tried everything to lose their pursuers. They jumped to random systems. They split their fleet into smaller groups. They hid in asteroid fields and gas giants. Nothing worked. The humans always found them. Always. After a year, the impact on the Vortak economy was severe. No one wanted to trade with them because doing business with the Vortak meant having human ships watching your ports. Several species broke their trade agreements. Mining operations shut down because workers refused to stay in systems where humans and Vortak were fighting. Krelvar lost 40% of his empire's income, not from military defeat, but from isolation. He called a meeting of his senior officers. How are they doing this? How do they always know where we are? No one had an answer. They did not know about the relay network. They did not know that thousands of tiny satellites were watching every movement they made. One of his officers suggested, "Perhaps we should negotiate with them." Krelvar struck the officer across the face. "We are Vortak. We do not negotiate with prey species." But privately, in his quarters at night, Krelvar was beginning to worry. The humans were not fighting like any enemy he had faced before. They did not want territory. They did not want resources. They just wanted him. Specifically him and his fleet. And they never stopped coming. Back on Earth, Ambassador Tae-min received regular reports from Admiral Hyun-woo. He read them carefully, noting the progress. The Persistence fleet had not lost a single ship in combat. Their strategy of hit and run was working perfectly. More importantly, the galaxy was watching. Other species started studying human psychology. They discovered something interesting about human evolution. On Earth, ancient humans had hunted prey not by being faster or stronger, but by chasing it for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting, they called it. It seemed humans had brought that ancient strategy to the stars. Counselor Thraxi sent Tae-min a private message. It was brief. "You were not bluffing. The galaxy is learning to take human warnings seriously." Tae-min sent back an even briefer reply. "We are just getting started." Because the truth was, this had only been 1 year. The Persistence fleet was designed to operate for decades. The relay network was expanding every day. New volunteers were training to replace crew members who wanted to return home. The Vortak thought they could outlast human determination. They were wrong. Humanity had made a promise, and they intended to keep it. The hunt had only just begun. 3 years into the pursuit, the galaxy had changed. The story of the Persistence fleet was told in every language, on every world. Children played games where they pretended to be either Vortak running or humans chasing. Historians wrote papers. Philosophers debated the ethics of endless pursuit. But for the humans actually doing the chasing, it was just work. Captain Min-seok sat on the bridge of his scout ship, the Endurance, watching his sensors. He had not returned to Earth in 900 days. His crew worked in shifts, sleeping, eating, maintaining the ship. But Min-seok was always here, always watching the 3 Vortak ships they were tracking. "Captain, you should rest," his first officer said gently. "You have been awake for 20 hours. I will rest when they rest," Minsok said. He knew he was being unreasonable. His crew worried about him. But he could not stop. Would not stop. Those 3 Vortac ships had been part of the group that attacked the Dandelion. He knew this because he had checked their identification codes against the records. These specific ships had killed innocents. So he watched them. And he would keep watching them until they surrendered or died. On Earth, Dr. Sunhee was giving a presentation to the Galactic Council. She was a xenopsychologist, an expert in how different species thought. The council had invited her to explain the human strategy because they genuinely did not understand it. "You must understand human evolution," Sunhee said, displaying images of ancient Earth. "My ancestors lived on plains where prey animals were faster and stronger than them, but humans had one advantage. We could sweat. We could cool our bodies while running. The prey could not." She showed a video of an ancient hunt. Humans jogging after an antelope. The antelope would sprint away, then stop to rest. The humans would keep jogging, never stopping. This would repeat for hours until the antelope was too exhausted to run anymore. "This is called persistence hunting," Sunhee explained. "We did not need to be faster. We just needed to never stop. And we could run for days if necessary. This is in our nature. In our very biology." A counselor from a species called the Ixari asked, "But this is ancient history. Surely modern humans have evolved past such primitive instincts?" Sunhee smiled. "Have we? Ask any human who runs marathons. Ask any human who has worked on a difficult problem for years. We are still persistence hunters. We just hunt different things now. Knowledge, justice, goals. And when a human decides to pursue something, they do not stop just because it is difficult or takes a long time." Counselor Thraxi spoke up. "Dr. Sunhee, what would make the humans stop pursuing the Vortac?" "Only 2 things," Sunhee said. "Either the Vortac surrender and face justice, or the last Vortac dies. There is no third option." Humans meant what they said. Forever is not a metaphor for us. The council chamber was silent. Many species were beginning to understand that they had been lucky. Lucky that humans were generally peaceful, because a species that could chase an enemy for years without stopping was terrifying when angered. The Vortac Empire was falling apart from the inside. After 3 years of constant pursuit, their economy was destroyed. More importantly, their people were losing faith in Krelvar's leadership. Vortac colony worlds began to surrender to human forces, not because they were defeated in battle, but because they wanted protection from their own military. The Vortac soldiers were growing desperate, stealing from their own colonies to maintain their fleet. When the first Vortac colony surrendered, Admiral Hyun Woo accepted it peacefully. The humans set up a temporary government, helped restore order, and made it clear that they had no quarrel with ordinary Vortac citizens, only with those responsible for the Dandelion massacre. This caused more colonies to surrender. Within 6 months, the Vortac Empire lost 20 of its 40 systems. Not to conquest, but to defection. Krelvar responded with brutality. He ordered his military to punish any colony that considered surrender. He executed his own officers who suggested negotiation. He was becoming paranoid, seeing traitors everywhere. His flagship jumped from system to system, never staying anywhere for more than a few days. And always, 3 days later, human ships would appear. The stress was visible on him. His armor, once polished and proud, was now dull. His officers reported that he barely slept. He would stand on the bridge for days at a time, staring at sensors, waiting for the inevitable appearance of human ships. "Why will they not stop?" he shouted at his officers one day. "We have offered to pay reparations. We have offered to leave human space forever. What more do they want? Why?" Why? 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 His tactical officer, one of the few loyal officers remaining, said quietly, They want you, warlord. They want everyone who was involved in the Dandelion attack to face trial. They have said this from the beginning. Then they will chase us forever, Krelvar said. Yes. The officer replied. I believe they will. Mun. Other species in the galaxy were watching this carefully. The Persistence fleet's success was making them reconsider their own military doctrines. Several aggressive species quietly canceled planned raids against weaker neighbors. The reason was always unspoken, but clear. What if we make humans angry too? A criminal syndicate that had been considering kidnapping human traders for ransom instead decided to focus on other species. When asked why, their leader said simply, Because I enjoy living. The human strategy was working not just against the Vortak, but as a deterrent to everyone else. The galaxy was learning that harming humans came with a price that kept being paid forever. Intelligence agencies across the galaxy began sharing information with the Persistence fleet. The Ixari provided sensor data. The Threnody shared trade routes. Even species that had no direct relationship with Earth helped track the Vortak. Some did it out of moral support. Others did it because they feared being on the receiving end of human persistence. This intelligence network made the hunt even more effective. Now, human ships appeared 2 days after the Vortak arrived somewhere, instead of 3. Then one day, the Vortak were being surrounded by a network they could not see and could not escape. Captain Min Sok finally got his chance. The 3 ships he had been tracking for 900 days made a mistake. They tried to hide in an asteroid field. But Min Sok had predicted this. He positioned his ship at the only exit that could accommodate their size. When they emerged, he was waiting. His ship alone could not defeat 3 Vortak vessels, but reinforcements were only 6 hours away. So he did what the Persistence fleet did best. He harassed them, fired at their engines, damaged their sensors, made it impossible for them to jump to hyperspace. When Admiral Hyun Woo arrived with backup ships, the 3 Vortak ships surrendered. It was the first major capture of the war. Min Sok stood on the bridge as Vortak soldiers were taken into custody. He felt no joy, no triumph, just a quiet satisfaction that justice was moving forward. Captain, his first officer said, you can go home now. You have been out here for 916 days. You have earned rest. Min Sok nodded slowly. Yes, I think I will. But first, I want to see these prisoners transferred safely. Then I will return to Earth and see my family. I have not met my daughter yet. She was born 3 months after I left. She will be 3 years old now, the officer said gently. I know, Min Sok said. I have missed her entire early childhood. But I needed to finish this. These 3 ships killed children on the Dandelion. Now they will face justice for that. It was worth the sacrifice. Ambassador Taemin, now in his 60s, addressed the Galactic Council again. He had been giving regular updates on the pursuit. This time, his message was different. The Vortak Empire has fractured, he said. 20 systems have surrendered peacefully to human administration. We are treating their citizens with respect and helping them rebuild. 15 systems remain loyal to Krelvar, but their economy is destroyed. They survive on scavenged resources. He paused, looking around the chamber. The Galactic Council asked us to stop 3 years ago. You said our pursuit was excessive, that we had made our point, that we should negotiate peace. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably at the reminder. We told you then, and I tell you now, we will stop when justice is served, not before. Krelvar can end this at any time by surrendering himself and his officers to stand trial. Until then, we continue. Counselor Thraxi spoke. Ambassador, your people have demonstrated something we did not think possible. You have waged a war of pure persistence. No conquest, no territory gained, just endless pursuit. The galaxy has learned to fear human determination. Good, Taemin said simply. Perhaps next time someone considers harming innocent humans, they will remember this lesson. As the session ended, several species approached Taemin privately. They asked questions about human military contracts, alliance treaties, protection agreements. The Persistence fleet had only 40 ships, but the galaxy suddenly saw Earth as a major military power. Not because humans were the strongest, but because they were the most relentless. 3 years down, the pursuit continued. 7 years had passed since the Dandelion Massacre. The Vortak Empire was a shadow of what it once was. From 40 systems controlling billions of people, they were now reduced to a nomadic fleet of 200 ships, carrying maybe 300,000 Vortak in total. They had no home, no bases, no permanent settlements. They jumped from system to system, scavenging what they could, always running, and always, the humans followed. Krelvar stood on his bridge, and those who served with him said he looked like a ghost. His armor hung loose on his frame. He had not eaten properly in weeks. Sleep came in brief, nightmare-filled bursts. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw human ships on his sensors. His crew had started calling the humans Yoma. It was a word they had learned from intercepted human communications. A Korean word meaning death spirit. A ghost that follows you forever. It fit perfectly. Warlord, his communication officer said quietly. The officer was young, barely trained. All the experienced officers were dead or had defected. We are running low on fuel again, and food supplies are critical. The crew is on half rations. Then we find another system to scavenge, Krelvar said. His voice was hoarse from lack of sleep. There are no more systems, Warlord. Every system we approach has been warned about us. They close their ports and call for human protection when they detect our fleet. Krelvar laughed, but it was the laugh of someone broken. The humans have turned the entire galaxy against us. How? How do they do this? No one answered. They had asked this question 1,000 times. The answer was always the same. Because humans did not stop. On Earth, Commander Jae-hoon was planning something massive. He was the strategic coordinator for the Persistence fleet. The one who looked at the big picture and made long-term plans. He stood in a war room with holographic displays, showing the positions of every Vortak ship and every human vessel. Admiral Hyunwoo, now in his 40s and graying, stood beside him. Show me the plan again, Hyunwoo said. Jae-hoon expanded the display to show 89 star systems highlighted in red. The Vortak have been running in a pattern. They visit these 89 systems on a rotating basis. They are the only systems that still have undefended resources or are far enough from major civilizations that they can scavenge without immediate response. So we cut them off, Hyunwoo said. Exactly. We place blockades at all 89 systems simultaneously. The Vortak will have nowhere left to run. No resources to scavenge. They will have to surrender or starve. How many ships do we need? 360. 4 ships per system. For effective blockade, Hyunwoo whistled. The Persistence fleet only has 80 ships now. Yes, but Earth's regular navy can provide another 200. And 17 allied species have offered to contribute ships. They want to help finish this. The galaxy had indeed changed. Species that would never have cooperated with humans before now volunteered ships and resources, not just because they supported justice for the Dandelion, but because they wanted to be on the right side of humanity. Coordinate it, Hyunwoo said. I want every ship in position within a month. We end this. Krelvar did not know about the coming blockade. He was focused on immediate survival. His fleet jumped to a mining outpost in an unclaimed system, hoping to steal fuel and supplies. They arrived to find human ships already there, just 2 ships, but enough to send a message. They knew we were coming, Krelvar's tactical officer said. How do they always know? But this time, desperation made Krelvar aggressive. He ordered 20 ships to attack the 2 human vessels. The humans fled as always. But this time, Krelvar did not call back his ships. He let them chase the humans out of the system. His fleet had 90 minutes to grab supplies before the humans returned with reinforcements. They worked frantically, loading fuel and food onto their ships. 88 minutes later, 30 human ships dropped out of hyperspace. Krelvar's fleet jumped away just in time, but they had only taken half the supplies they needed. It was a hollow victory. They had supplies for another month, maybe 2. Then what? The Great Blockade went into effect on a Tuesday. 360 ships from 20 different species moved into position around 89 systems. They did not hide. They wanted the Vortak to know. When Krelvar's sensors detected the blockade, he sat down heavily in his command chair. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he pulled up a star map and started looking for options. "The void deep," he said finally. His officers went silent. Everyone knew about the void deep. It was an uncharted region of space where gravitational anomalies destroyed most ships that entered. Dark matter storms made navigation impossible. It was considered a death zone. "Warlord, we cannot survive in the void deep," his tactical officer said. "We cannot survive out here either," Krelvar replied. "But the humans will not follow us there. No one is insane enough to follow us there. We go into the void deep. We hide for a year. We emerge somewhere far away. When the humans have given up, the humans will never give up. 7 years should have taught us that. Then we die in the void deep instead of surrendering," Krelvar shouted. "I will not let them have the satisfaction of putting me on trial. I will not let them parade me in front of the galaxy as an example. We go into the void. Now." The Vortak fleet changed course, heading toward the deadly region of space that had destroyed every exploration mission sent into it. The Galactic Council held an emergency session when they learned of Krelvar's plan. Councillor Thraxi addressed the human delegation. "Ambassador Taemin, the Vortak are fleeing into the void deep. This is effectively their end. You have won. There is no need to pursue further." Taemin, now 70 years old and walking with a cane, stood slowly. "Counselor, they have not surrendered. They are still running. Therefore, we continue. But the void deep will kill anyone who enters." "Perhaps," Taemin said. "But that is for us to decide, not you." Admiral Hyunwoo received the report about Krelvar's destination while aboard his flagship. He immediately called for volunteers. He would not order anyone into the void deep. This had to be a choice. Lieutenant Yoonji was the first to volunteer. She was a pilot, one of the best in the fleet. She was 31 years old and had been with the Persistence fleet since its creation. "Sir, I was on the Dandelion," she said when asked why she volunteered. "My family was moving to New Seoul. I was visiting friends on Earth and planned to join them later. Then the Vortak killed them. My parents, my sister, my nephew who was 4 years old. I have spent 7 years hunting the people who did that. I am not stopping now." Admiral Hyunwoo looked at her file. He had not known she was connected to the Dandelion. She had never mentioned it, never asked for special consideration. She had just done her job perfectly for 7 years. "The void deep will probably kill us all," he said gently. "Better to die chasing them than to let them escape," Yoonji replied. Over the next week, volunteers kept coming. Pilots, engineers, soldiers, scientists. They all knew the risks. Many of them wrote final letters to their families, but they volunteered anyway. Engineer Yoon-ho came forward with an idea. He had been working on shield technology that could potentially protect ships from the gravitational anomalies in the void deep. "I cannot guarantee it will work," he admitted. "I have never been able to test it in real conditions. But theoretically, this shield configuration should let us survive long enough to find the Vortak." "How long did you work on this?" Hyunwoo asked. 3 years, Yoon-ho said. "I knew someday we might need to follow them somewhere dangerous. I wanted to be ready. 3 years. The man had spent 3 years developing technology for a hypothetical situation, just in case it was needed. That was human persistence in a different form. 30 human ships prepared to enter the void deep. They were equipped with Yunho's experimental shields, extra supplies, and the best crews in the fleet. Ambassador Tae-min came to see them off. He walked slowly along the dock, his cane tapping against the metal floor. He stopped in front of Admiral Hyun-woo. "I am sorry," Tae-min said quietly. "I made a promise 7 years ago, and now people might die keeping it. You gave them a warning." Hyun-woo replied. "They chose not to listen. Everything that has happened since is on them, not you. Will you come back?" "I do not know," Hyun-woo said honestly. "But if we do not, make sure everyone knows we kept our promise. Humans chase forever, even into death zones." The 30 ships entered the void deep. The Galactic Council watched the sensor feeds until the ships disappeared into the dark matter storms. Counselor Thoraxi made a public statement. "The humans have followed their enemy into a region of space that has destroyed every ship that entered it. What kind of species chooses certain death over letting an enemy escape?" The answer was spreading across the galaxy. A determined one. A persistent one. A species that meant what they said. In the void deep, surrounded by gravitational chaos and dark matter storms, 30 human ships hunted 200 Vortak vessels. The chase continued. Even here, even now, forever meant forever. The void deep was worse than anyone had imagined. Space itself seemed angry here. Gravity pulled in random directions. Stars appeared and disappeared as dark matter clouds blocked sensors. Ships could be kilometers apart and not detect each other. Lieutenant Yoon-ji piloted her scout ship through the chaos, her hands steady on the controls even as the ship shuddered from gravitational stress. Engineer Yun-ho's shields were working. Barely. They flickered and strained but held. "I have something on sensors," her co-pilot said. "Maybe. The dark matter makes it hard to tell. Mark the position and transmit to the fleet," Yoon-ji said. She adjusted course, following the faint signal. Behind her, 29 other human ships were spread across the void deep, searching. They had been here for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of constant danger, of sleeping in shifts while the ship tried to tear itself apart from gravitational stress. 3 ships had already been lost to the void's chaos, but they found debris trails, energy signatures, signs that the Vortak were here too. And if the Vortak could survive here, so could humans. On Krelvar's flagship, things were desperate. The void deep was killing them slowly. 5 ships had been destroyed by gravitational anomalies. 15 more were damaged. Food supplies were nearly gone. The crew was on quarter rations, barely surviving. Worst of all, they had detected human ships. Somehow, impossibly, the humans had followed them even here. "Yoma," the crew whispered. "Death spirits. They will never stop." Krelvar stood on his bridge, looking at a star map that barely functioned in the void's interference. They had found something, though. Something impossible. At the heart of the void deep, sensors showed a structure. Artificial. Old. Maybe a station from some ancient civilization. It was their last hope. If they could reach it, maybe it would have supplies. Maybe it would have defenses against the gravitational chaos. Maybe it would save them. He gave the order. The entire Vortak fleet, now reduced to 193 ships, turned toward the ancient station. Admiral Hyun-woo received the tracking data from Eunji's ship. The Vortak were moving with purpose, all heading to the same location. He pulled up the sensor readings of what they were heading toward. An ancient station, his science officer said. The void deep must have formed around it millions of years ago. It is still intact somehow, protected by its own shields. Can we reach it before they do? Hyun-woo asked. No, sir. They are closer. They will arrive at the station 3 days before us. 3 days. Always 3 days. Even here, even in this impossible place, humans were 3 days behind. It would have been funny if people were not dying. Then we arrived 3 days late, Hyunwoo said. Transmit our position to Earth. Let them know we found the Vortak. The message took 2 weeks to reach Earth through the void's interference, but it arrived. He was 70 years old now, his hair completely white, his hands shaking slightly from age. But his eyes were still sharp. He sent a simple reply back. Finish it. The Vortak fleet reached the ancient station and found it was indeed still functional. Its shields protected it from the void's chaos. Its automated systems still worked after millions of years. There were even supplies in storage, preserved by stasis fields. For the first time in months, the Vortak crew had full meals. They repaired their ships using materials from the station. They rested. Some of them cried from relief. Krelvar stood in the station's command center, looking at displays in a language no one could read anymore. They were safe here. The station's shields would protect them. They could survive. But his tactical officer pointed at sensors. Warlord. Human ships approaching. They will arrive in 3 days. Of course they would. 3 days. We defend the station, Krelvar said. We have supplies now. Repairs. We can hold this position. For how long? Forever if we must. The humans want forever? We can do forever too. But he did not believe his own words. He could see it in his officers' eyes. They did not believe it either. 7 years of running had broken them. They were tired. So very tired. The human fleet arrived exactly 3 days later. Admiral Hyunwoo's flagship led the formation, approaching the ancient station carefully. The Vortak ships were arrayed around it, in defensive positions. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Krelvar, the communication officer said. Play it. Krelvar's voice filled the bridge. He sounded old, tired. Human Admiral. We are done running. This station is our final position. We will defend it until we are all dead. But we will not run anymore. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Krelvar, you do not have to die. Surrender. Face trial. It can end today. I cannot face your trial, Krelvar said. I cannot stand in a courtroom and hear the names of those I killed. I cannot look at the faces of their families. I cannot admit what I have done. So I will die here instead. Ack. 40 point. Ack lose. You killed 3,000 people, Hyunwoo said quietly. You broadcast their deaths across the galaxy. You wanted the universe to know what you did. But now you are too ashamed to face the consequences? Silence. Your crew does not have to die with you, Hyunwoo continued. Any Vortak who surrenders now will be treated fairly. Only those directly responsible for the Dandelion massacre need to face trial. Everyone else can go home. More silence. Then, something unexpected happened. 10 Vortak ships broke formation and approached the human fleet with their weapons powered down. Then 20 more. Then 50. On Krelvar's bridge, his officers were deserting their posts. Walking away. They had followed him for 7 years, but they were done. They wanted to live. No, Krelvar said. No. We fight. We defend. But no one was listening. The crew was leaving, boarding escape pods, surrendering to the humans. Within an hour, only Krelvar and a few dozen loyal officers remained on the flagship. Lieutenant Yoonji piloted her ship close to Krelvar's flagship. This was personal for her. This ship, this specific vessel, had fired the weapons that destroyed the Dandelion. She had checked the records 100 times. Krelvar, she said over the communication system, this is Lieutenant Yoonji of the Earth Defense Fleet. My family was on the Dandelion. My mother, my father, my little sister, my nephew who was 4 years old. You killed them. Krelvar's reply was barely a whisper. I know. I remember the broadcast. I remember their faces. Then you know why we chased you for 7 years. You know why we will never stop. Surrender now. Face justice. Let the families you destroyed see you answer for what you did. I cannot. You do not have a choice anymore. Admiral Hyun-woo gave the order. Human ships surrounded Krelvar's flagship, not to destroy it, but to disable it. Precise weapons, fire knocked out engines, shields, weapon systems. Within minutes, the ship was helpless. Boarding teams entered the flagship. They found Krelvar sitting in his command chair, looking at a display showing the faces of the Dandelion victims. All 3,000 of them. He had kept the list this entire time. I tried to forget them, he said quietly as human soldiers approached. I could not. Every face, every name, they haunted me. 17-7. Also, I talk 7. Good, Yoonji said. She had joined the boarding team. They should haunt you. Krelvar and his remaining officers were taken into custody. The hunt was over. The human fleet began the long journey out of the void deep. 27 ships remained from the original 30. The journey home took 3 months. They emerged from the void deep to find a galaxy that had been watching and waiting. The Galactic Council held a ceremony. Ships from 100 species lined the route back to Earth. It was not a military parade. It was something else. Acknowledgement, respect, perhaps even fear. Admiral Hyun-woo returned to Earth 8 years, 2 months, and 17 days after the Dandelion massacre. He was 43 years old now, but looked older. The stress of the hunt had aged everyone who participated. He stepped off his ship to find Ambassador Tae-min waiting. The old man stood with his cane, smiling. You kept the promise, Tae-min said. We all did. Hyun-woo replied. Every crew member, every volunteer, every person who built the relay network or developed new technology or simply believed we should not stop. The trial of Krelvar and his officers was held at the Galactic Court. It lasted 6 months. Evidence was presented. Victims' families testified. The defendants were allowed full legal representation. Krelvar was found guilty of war crimes. He received a sentence of life imprisonment. His officers received various sentences based on their level of involvement. Justice was served. But the impact on the galaxy was deeper than one trial. 3 different species withdrew hostile actions they had been planning. A criminal syndicate dissolved rather than risk human attention. Trade agreements suddenly included clauses about human protection. The Persistence Fleet became a permanent institution. Not large, only 50 ships, but always ready. Young officers studied the 7-year hunt as a textbook example of strategic patience. Captain Min-sok finally met his daughter, Hana. She was 8 years old now, shy around the father she did not remember. But they had time. He was home now. The hunt was over. Lieutenant Yoonji visited the memorial wall where the names of the Dandelion victims were engraved. She found her family's names and placed her hand on the cold stone. We kept our promise, she whispered. We chased them forever. They answered for what they did. Counselor Throxey made a final entry in the historical record. It would be studied by scholars for generations. The human warning was not empty words, it was simple truth. They said they would chase the Vortok forever. And they did. They followed them across 600,000 light-years, through blockades and battles, and into a region of space that destroys most ships that enter it. They did not stop until justice was served. The galaxy laughed at the warning. We thought forever was exaggeration. We thought human anger would cool. We thought their attention would waver. We were wrong about all of it. Humanity taught us an ancient lesson we had forgotten. The most dangerous predator is not the fastest or the strongest. It is the one that never stops coming. Other species will study this chase for centuries. They will analyze the tactics, the technology, the strategy, but they will miss the real lesson. Humans mean what they say. When they make a promise, they keep it. When they say forever, they mean forever. The Vortak learned this too late. Let their fate be a lesson to anyone who considers harming innocent humans. You may win battles. You may destroy their ships, but you will never escape. They will chase you to the end of the galaxy and beyond. Not for conquest. Not for territory. For justice. And they will never stop. A new species approached the Galactic Council seeking membership. When asked about their military capabilities, they were told something that had become common wisdom. Your strength does not matter. Your technology does not matter. Only one question is important. Can you live in peace with humanity? Because if you make them your enemy, if you harm their people, your civilization will spend the rest of its existence looking over its shoulder. They will chase you. Forever. Until it is too late. In a small office on Earth, a maintenance worker named Subin added the final touches to the memorial wall. 3,000 names. Perfectly engraved. At the bottom, a new inscription. They will never be forgotten. We proved it. And humanity had proven it. For 7 years, 2 months, and 17 days, they had chased the Vortak across the galaxy. They had kept their promise. They had shown the universe what forever meant. The hunt was over. But the lesson remained. Humanity had changed the galaxy simply by being exactly what they said they were. Persistent. Forever was not hyperbole when humans said it. It was a guarantee.